Hi, it's Peter here. OMDS launched a new camera last week, OM1. At the same time, they also launched these two new lenses, 12 to 40mm f2.8 Pro version 2, and then a totally new lens, 40 to 150mm f4 Pro. This is a quick look about these two lenses. I will make an in-depth review in the upcoming weeks of both of these lenses. But let's get into the subject. OMDS already has lenses to this same focal length range. So why did they launch these two new lenses? I will get into that later in this video. I will start with the 12 to 40mm f2.8 Pro version 2. As you see, the lens looks identical to the previous version of this lens. The only difference that you can see from outside is the OM System logo. It used to be Olympus logo, and now they have OM System because that is the brand. Are these lenses otherwise identical? Yes and no. The lens structure is exactly the same as you see from these two diagrams. But this new lens has a bit better coating, and this new lens has the weather sealing rating IP53, so it will match the new OM1 camera. A third, but a really small difference is the lens hood. The new one is LH66D and the other one was LH66, and the D version is slightly bigger. So if you need a new lens hood for your older model, you can use the new one, which is slightly bigger, and it has buttons that you take it off are a bit smaller, so most likely it's a bit more durable than the old one. So there's a slight difference in that too. Then the new 40 to 150mm f4 Pro lens. This is totally a new lens. It's part of OM System or OMDS's f4 lens lineup, and it fits very nicely to that lineup. And as you can see, it has a retracting mechanism exactly like the 8-25, and the reason for this most likely is that it can be smaller in your bag, so it fits better in your bag. And then when you use it, you need to turn it on, and then it's all set to use. Is this a big deal? I don't think it is. It's just, a different workflow when you start photographing. One good thing could be if this retracting mechanism would also turn on the camera. And here you can see the difference and see how much smaller it is than the f2.8 version. This could be a decisive thing, but of course I will test the image quality and we will see. And also the weather sealing of this new lens is IP53, so it will match the OM1 camera, and this is a good thing. But there are two downsides on this new lens. First of all, it does not take the extenders. The reason is most likely so it can keep the lens a bit lower price and also a bit smaller. And then it doesn't support the OM1's 50 frames per second with continuous autofocus. You only have 25. And why did OMDS make these upgrades? Well, first of all, it was time to upgrade to 12 to 40mm f2.8 lens to give it a bit of better coating and a bit better weather sealing. I think that was it. There isn't much other differences. And then the 40 to 150mm f4 is an interesting lens because that is part of the new f4 lens lineup. And it is all about making the gear smaller so that the niche that OMDS is targeting has smaller gear, and it is more suitable for, carrying it around and doing handheld shots outdoors when hiking in bad weather, for example. That's the ultimate thing. And I think it's a good new lens lineup, the f4 lenses, and I'm glad they did this focal length too, because as you saw, it's a lot smaller than the 2.8 version. I have only used these lenses for a few hours so far. I will use, of course, more when I make the in-depth review in the near future. The quick test that I did, I saw that the image quality is really good. Nothing wrong with the image quality. But of course, it's interesting to compare it to the older models, or the f4 lens to the f2.8 lens, of course, and then the 12 to 40 between those two models. And here are some results. Let's start with the 12 to 40mm lenses first. Here you can see them side by side, images that took with the very simple setup, not really scientific, but enough to see if there is any difference. And I found two small differences. The new lens has a bit more contrast to the image, and also the colors are a bit brighter and deeper. There's more saturation, and then the image quality is slightly better. And this goes throughout the whole aperture range all the way I tested up to f5.6, and there's the same difference in every aperture. And this is interesting to see that maybe the fluorine coating makes it a bit better that it has in the front element. But this could also be because the other lens, the older model, is really old. I've used it a lot and abused it a lot, and maybe there are some, imperfections in the lens because of its use. There might be a bit dirt on the top, and which cannot be cleaned by me. So maybe a proper clean in a service facility could make this difference smaller. But don't rush to get a new lens just because of this small difference. This is a target that I shot in controlled environment, which makes, of course, this to apply only in the laboratory type of things, even though this is not scientific. In real life, when you go out and photograph, you don't really see the difference, I bet. The difference isn't really big, and it might be because of the other lenses so old. And it has been used quite a bit. So there might be some, dirt on the front element that doesn't come off. And what's interesting is that the result with the 40 to 150mm f4 was the same. Of course, they are different lenses, and the 40 to 150mm f4 lens looks to be a bit sharper than the f2.8 version when I used the same aperture. And here you can see the difference. This could be also because of the lens is quite old, the f2.8 lens is quite old, and I've used it quite a lot. And there might be some dirt in the front element that just does not come off the way I'm cleaning my lenses. That could be it. Or then the f4 lens is better. But here again, do not go out and sell your f2.8 just because I found these results on these lenses. But it's also something interesting to see and waiting for other reviews too. And I'm really glad that both of these new lenses have quite high image quality. And the AF speed seemed to be quite equal on these lenses. As we saw, both of these new lenses can produce really great images. When it comes to technical quality, there's no problem with that. Of course, then you put the story in the image. That's up to the photographer. That's you. But I'm glad that there is slight improvement. And of course, the fluorine coating on both of these lenses can be the decisive thing when it comes to sharper images. It will keep the lens front element a lot cleaner compared to the older one. And that could be, like I said, the reason for the results that I got. And if the in-depth review videos are already online, then you can watch them from there. If not, then I have videos about the older version of these two lenses. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.